You speak of quantum field as if it were a place out there, a distant haze, a dimension you need to reach with some rare trick. I will shorten the path. The field is not outside. It is the set of possibilities that respond to the state you occupy within. You don't enter it by walking somewhere. You enter when you exit the old state that repeats the same world and assume, with discipline, the state that already contains the new world. The visible doesn't decide anything. It confirms. It is the receipt, not the purchase order. Stop asking for signs. Signs are echoes. If you demand proof before changing, you are trying to use the mirror to choose your face. The mirror only copies, and what it copies is your usual identity. The internal climate, the focus, the pattern of sensation that you call normal. Quantum field, in practice, is where you choose the version of yourself that governs your automatic thoughts, your impulses, your decisions, and even what you notice around you. Those who don't understand this live, like someone who turns the radio dial and is surprised to keep hearing the same station. Want another song? Change the station. And the station is the state. The world is a control panel. Most live hypnotized by the screens, reacting to what appears as if each scene were a sentence. The creator looks at the buttons. The screens are consequence. The buttons are cause. The field is not mystical. It is obedient. It bows to sustained command. And sustained command is not a shout, it is constancy. The first principle is simple and demanding. You do not manifest what you desire. You manifest what you accept as normal within you. Entry into the field is an exchange of contract. You don't negotiate with the world. You alter the internal agreement you have been signing every day with your responses. Observe most people. They say they want a new reality, but feed the old reality with their attention. They wake up, look at their balance, feel the contraction in their chest, tell the same story, imagine the same ending, and call it realism. It's not realism, it's loyalty to the past. I want you to see the mechanism coldly. When you react with fear, you are not just feeling. You are declaring identity. You are saying, I am someone for whom this is inevitable. When you react with resentment, you are saying, I am someone to whom the world always owes something. When you react with discouragement, you are saying, I am someone who stops before beginning. The field does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you are. And what you are in that instant is your chosen or unchosen reaction. So do what the undisciplined avoid. Choose a state, not a vague desire. A state is an internal position. I am someone who lives with lightness. I am someone who is respected. I am someone who has stable health. I am someone who receives opportunities and recognizes them. This is not a pretty phrase, it is a posture. And posture has sensation. A state is a climate. Weight on the shoulders or relief. Tightness in the stomach or calm, blind urgency or silent certainty. Entry into the field begins when you learn to recognize the exact second when the old identity tries to take the wheel and you decide not to give it. And I will give you a simple exercise because simplicity becomes power with repetition. Close your eyes for 10 seconds and imagine that your desired reality has already happened. Do not imagine the path, imagine the accomplished fact. What is the first sensation in your body? Relief, pride, peace? And then observe the reflection. The old mind will try to say, but. That but is the gatekeeper. Do not fight it like you fight an enemy. Treat it like an old mechanism. You look at it and say, stay there, I have chosen something else. Choice is the act of authority. Without choice, you are just a passenger. I have seen people waste years because they wanted change without an identity shift. Someone says they want to prosper, but feels inside like someone who is always late for their own life. They say they want love, but inhabit suspicion as if it were intelligence. They say they want peace, but feed the storm with their attention. And then they ask, why isn't it happening? Because the field doesn't reward requests, it confirms states. The field doesn't debate with your logic, it obeys your habit. Treat identity like a uniform. If you wear the uniform of scarcity, you walk in a hurry, speak in a hurry, decide in a hurry, and everything you touch takes on the smell of haste. If you wear the uniform of sufficiency, you breathe differently, observe differently, choose differently, and the world begins to return that same tone to you. The big question is, which uniform do you put on before you head out for the day? And more importantly, do you have the courage to keep that uniform on when someone tries to provoke you to change? The first principle requires a fast from automatic reaction, not a fast from food, a fast from reflex. You learn to pause for 2 seconds before responding to life. Those 2 seconds are the entry into the field, because there you choose, do I respond as who I was or as who I am now? Without that pause, you are just a repeater of the past with new excuses. When you sustain a state, the world begins to reorganize itself like a theater changing its scenery when the actor changes costumes. You begin to notice invitations that were invisible before, speak with a different tone, choose with different courage, act with different precision. This is not optimism, it is direction, and direction, when maintained, becomes destiny. You enter the field when you understand that your inner self is not a commentary on life, it is a command over life. And before I begin developing the second principle, I will give you a practical bridge. If you want to deepen this without staying in theory, there is material in the pinned comment that works as a training roadmap. It's a practical guide with tools, exercises, and clear steps for you to apply now, without complication. It organizes daily practices that turn visualization into habit and keep your energy aligned. A mental movie of the future, a vision board that truly works, a visualization journal, and a short daily routine that anyone can maintain. If you want to stop depending on excitement and start depending on method, use that as support and continue practicing firmly. Now, the second principle, you enter the field not with the chattering mind, but with the body as an antenna. Most try to manifest with their heads full, like someone trying to see the stars under a spotlight. The field is sensitive, it responds to a clean signal. And a clean signal is not the absence of thought, it is command above the noise. You do this by bringing the desired into the present as a sensory experience, not as hope but as a scene. Your subconscious, that silent operator, does not fully separate the real from the imagined. It accepts the instruction you install and works to make it real. So stop thinking about the goal and start inhabiting the goal. Visualizing is not daydreaming. It is creating a vivid scene as if you were living it now, with smells, sounds, textures. Do you want to enter the field? Choose a single short scene, 10 to 20 seconds long, that proves the desire is already a fact. One scene, not a soap opera. Short, repeatable, controllable. It could be you resting your head on a pillow in a room that is now yours and feeling a simple, effortless peace. It could be you hearing your name called in an environment where you are valued. It could be you closing a door and feeling that what was left behind no longer has power over you. And here is the detail most people ignore. Emotion is fuel. If you see the scene without feeling anything, it's like a movie without sound. It doesn't mark, it doesn't record, it doesn't command. When you add emotion, relief, pride, gratitude, security, the experience gains impact. The field responds to the signal. The signal is thought with emotion. And when you do this with repetition, something changes. The state ceases to be a visitor and becomes a residence. Use a metaphor. Your mind is a projector. Your body is the screen. If the screen is trembling with anxiety, the movie of the desire doesn't fix. So, first, calm the screen. 3 slow breaths. Release your jaw. Let your shoulders drop. Don't do this as a pretty ritual. Do it as a physiological command. Now, with your body quieter, place the scene and hold it. If the voice of "this is a lie" arises, respond like a king responds to a confused servant. It is not a lie, it is the new instruction. You don't need to convince the voice, you need to remain above it. I will guide you for 90 seconds. Close your eyes, inhale. At the end of the exhale, choose one detail, the sound that would confirm your reality. Perhaps it's a congratulations, perhaps it's approved, perhaps it's the deposit has arrived, perhaps it's just the silence of an orderly home. Now add a second detail, the physical sensation. The chest opens, the stomach relaxes, the face rests. And now a third detail, a gesture. You shake someone's hand, you sign, you open the door, you hug, done. 3 details, no theatrical effort, just assumed internal reality. Return to this later, again and again. And remember, the more specific, the better. The mind loves vagueness because vagueness doesn't require an identity change. The field doesn't respond to someday. It responds to the now lived within. If you want to enter the field, stop postponing the feeling. You don't need the event to feel. You need the feeling for the event. The third principle is the radical abandonment of appearances, but not as escape, as symbolic reading. The visible world is a thermometer, not a verdict. It measures the state you have been maintaining. It does not define the state you choose now. If today there is delay, rejection, silence, debts, tiredness, do not treat it as a sentence. Treat it as a late report. The report describes the past of your state, not the future of your command. When you understand this, you stop negotiating with appearances and start governing meaning. Imagine a control room with buttons, most live looking at the screens and crying over what they see. The creator looks at the buttons. The screens are consequence. The buttons are cause. A denied email is not destiny, it's a screen. A malicious comment is not destiny, it's a screen. A delay is not destiny, it's a screen. The creator's question is not, why did this happen to me? But rather, what state within me was asking for this screen and what state do I choose now? I will give you another image. Your life is a river and your repeated emotions are the riverbed. Water always flows where it is easiest. You can blame the water or you can alter the riverbed. Altering the riverbed is changing the state. When old evidence appears, and it will appear, you do not react like someone who has received the final truth. You react like someone who has received a late echo. You can acknowledge, I understand what this is trying to show me. But you do not kneel before it. You adjust the rudder and continue. And how do you practice abandoning appearances daily? With an internal gesture that seems small but is sovereign, refusing to interpret an event as identity. A silent no to the old meaning. You receive a cold message. Before you said, I am always rejected. Now you say, this is just an event. I don't live in it. You receive a bill. Before you said, this proves I can't. Now you say, this is a number. I am bigger than a number. The field obeys the meaning you sustain, not the raw fact. And I will tell you a scene so you understand the difference between abandoning appearance and pretending. Someone sends a resume and gets no response. The old state says, I was ignored, I'm worthless, and they stop. The new state says, the right combination hasn't arrived yet. I am still the version that is already employed. And they don't stop, they revise, improve, talk, learn, adjust. The same lack of response. Two states, two destinies. Life doesn't choose for you, the state chooses. Another example. Someone wants reconciliation but sees silence. The old identity says, silence is rejection. The new one says, silence is an interval. I am still loved and respected. And then this person acts with dignity, not desperation. They don't send 50 messages trying to yank reality by the arm. They maintain the state, and their actions come from that state. A clear message, a simple invitation, or even the decision to withdraw peacefully. And guess what? The field respects those who respect themselves. The field responds to coherence, not desperation. So when appearances contradict your choice, do what a mathematician does with a wrong calculation. They don't change the law, they correct the operation. If you chose a state and the day pushes you to the opposite, don't make a drama. Correct. Return to the state with the short scene and the feeling, that's it. Simple, repeated, and therefore powerful. The fourth principle is the bridge that separates dreamers from creators. Inspired action is the physical form of the state. If you say you inhabit a new identity, but your actions continue to sign the old contract, you are splitting the signal. You enter the field when you think, feel, and act from the same place. Visualization without action becomes vapor. Action without a state becomes blind effort. Alignment is what transforms energy into results. When you visualize with clarity and emotion, your internal system begins to guide you to decisions and opportunities that make that vision real. This appears as simple ideas, small movements, obvious steps that you previously ignored out of fear. And you must obey these impulses, not as superstition but as coherence. Because the power lies in combining the energy of visualization with the power of action. Want an example? Someone wants more money, but always feels stuck. They visualize relief upon seeing a full bank account, and shortly after they get an idea. Organize their spending, sell something unused, ask for an opportunity, study a skill. The old identity laughs, that's small. The new identity understands, small is how destiny begins. They do it, and by doing it, they confirm the state. You don't confirm the state with words, you confirm it with behavior. The field loves behavior because behavior is belief in motion. And don't confuse inspired action with anxiety. Anxiety is action to relieve fear. Inspired action is action to confirm identity. One is trembling, the other is firmness. If you feel desperation, return to the second principle for a minute. Calm the screen, review the scene, regain the sensation, and then act. The order matters. You don't drive a car looking backward. You don't create a life trying to erase the past in a hurry. You create with direction. Think of the archer. He doesn't force the target to come to the arrow. He adjusts his posture, breathes, aims, and releases. The state is the posture. The action is the release. And releasing doesn't require drama. It requires precision. If you are trying to make it happen with desperation, you are still outside the field. You are trying to push the mirror. Return to the center. React less. Act better. The fifth principle is permanence. Entering the field once is easy. Remaining is what changes destiny. The old world has inertia. It will try to pull you back with news, opinions, memories, comparisons. Permanence is building a short, daily ritual that returns you to the state before the day drags you away. It's not mysticism, it's hygiene. You brush your teeth to avoid decay. You return to the state to avoid regression. And this is where many sabotage themselves. They want a perfect practice, a perfect scenario, a perfect time. And because of that, they do nothing. The field doesn't respond to your perfection, it responds to your constancy. 5 minutes a day done well are worth more than a sporadic hour. What records is not excess, it is repetition. And repetition creates a track. A track creates destiny. Do this. Upon waking, before any screen, choose the tone for the day. Not the event, the tone. Today I walk in clarity. Breathe 3 times and bring up your short scene. Feel for a minute as if it's happening now. Then take a micro-action that aligns with it. And during the day, whenever you notice the old state arriving, don't debate, return. Returning is the training. Returning is the proof of authority. Returning is like holding the rudder when the wave hits. It's not pretty, it's necessary. At night, review like a director editing a film. Don't review to punish yourself. Review to adjust. Where did you react like the old self? Where did you remain like the new self? Mentally rewrite a scene you didn't like and put the new state within it. This act prevents the accumulation of the past. You stop collecting failures and start collecting identity. You no longer feed the old world with your unconscious imagination. You feed the new world with deliberate imagination. If you do this for a few days, you will notice something that changes everything. You start to feel the desired as familiar. And when it becomes familiar, you stop begging and start allowing. Permission is not given by the world. It is given by your internal system when it accepts the new identity as normal. And when it becomes normal, what once seemed impossible starts to appear as coincidence, as opportunity, as an open door. Don't idolize the door. Maintain the state. The state opens doors. Doors are just consequences. Do you want to bring the desired reality to this plane? Understand, the plane obeys the state. Reality is an employee. The state is the manager. If the manager changes, the employee changes the report. If you keep begging for external changes, you will continue to receive crumbs from the same script. But if you command within yourself, in silence and certainty, and sustain it with routine, you will see the visible bow not by magic but by law. From now on, stop asking when. Stop seeking permission. Stop measuring your creation by the mood of the day. Choose a state and be that state with the naturalness of someone who has already decided. When doubt comes, treat it as noise. When appearances shout, treat them as a delay. When the world tries to define you, refuse the label and assume the identity you have chosen. And if you want a practical step to consolidate this permanence, to turn this teaching into a daily practice that doesn't depend on inspiration, use the material in the pinned comment for support. It provides you with simple tools and exercises to maintain focus, strengthen the mental movie, record your new identity, and sustain a short routine that keeps your signal aligned. It's not to believe more, it's to train better. Training creates naturalness. Naturalness creates reality. You are not here to collect concepts, you are here to assume mastery. So treat this practice as you would treat building strength. Repetition, rhythm, precision. One day you feel nothing and still do it. Another day you feel everything and also do it. This is how the new state becomes the foundation. And when old anxiety tries to take the wheel, don't argue with it. Return to the body, return to the scene, return to the tone. You don't need to conquer the whole month in a single gesture, you need to conquer this minute. 1 minute of sovereignty repeated becomes a lifetime of change. Also understand this. The field responds to what you sustain when no one is looking. It's not the post you share, nor the enthusiasm of a good day. It is the state you maintain when a delay appears, when someone doesn't respond, when the number is scary, when memory tries to pull you back. Then you decide if you are a creator or a beggar, and a creator does not ask. A creator commands. No more begging for external changes. From now on you command silently, with certainty. You choose the state, sustain the state, act as the state, and let reality do what it always does. Obey what you have assumed to be. Listen carefully. Most of you walk through life like sleepwalkers, believing you are tossed from side to side by chance, luck, or the will of other men. But I tell you, nothing in the visible world moves without first having been assumed within consciousness. What you call destiny is nothing more than a reflection of the state you silently maintain. The life you see out there is not the cause, it is the consequence. It is like looking into a mirror and imagining that the reflected image has a will of its own. Foolishness. The mirror merely shows with absolute fidelity what is placed before it. So too is the world. It returns, in the form of facts, what you inwardly hold to be true. This is why I taught Neville a secret that could not be revealed to everyone indiscriminately, because few would have the courage to apply it with discipline and conviction. A simple secret, yet capable of dismantling the illusion of waiting and bringing results to the surface in a matter of hours. I am speaking of the 39-second mantra. It is not magic. It is not sorcery. It is not superstition. It is law. A law as certain as the gravity that keeps your feet fixed to the ground. Time does not matter. Circumstances do not matter. External signs do not matter. Only one thing matters: the state you maintain with unwavering faith. You think you need years of effort, endless sacrifice, begging invisible forces for mercy. But I tell you, a single instant of true conviction is enough for reality to bend. The problem is that your minds are accustomed to doubt, fear, and the habit of waiting. You repeat words, but your hearts cry out the opposite, and that is why you remain imprisoned. The mantra I gave to Neville is the practical reminder that when man decides to assume, the universe has no choice but to obey. 39 seconds is not an arbitrary formula. It is enough time to break through mental distraction, silence doubt, and fix, like a hot iron, the desired state. In less than a minute, you can cast an order into the invisible that will echo until it becomes flesh and blood in your life. And if you dare to sustain this with earnestness, you will see results that defy all human logic. That is why today I do not bring you mere words. I bring a calling, a call for you to awaken, to stop living as servants of the external world, and begin to order your reality as masters. Because all is already done, all is already given. What is missing is not the gift, but the consciousness of receiving it. The 39-second mantra is not merely a sequence of words, but a gateway to the remembrance of your true power. Understand, during this brief period of time, you must declare within yourself, not as one who asks, but as one who already possesses. The common mind is inconstant, leaping from thought to thought, and that is why man finds himself divided, desiring on one hand and denying on the other. But when you fix your attention for 39 seconds on a single truth, something happens. The internal chaos silences, distraction vanishes, and your consciousness anchors itself in the chosen state. The secret is not in the phrase itself, but in the power of sustained attention. Use these words like a blade, cutting through all doubt. It is already done, it is already accomplished, it is already mine. During this time, allow nothing else to exist beyond the feeling that your desire has already been fulfilled. Neville learned this from me and experienced the immediate power of this practice. When he concentrated on what he desired with the strength of one who does not doubt, he saw life reorganize itself in less than 24 hours. It was not coincidence, it was not chance, it was law. And it is this same law that you can activate now. 39 seconds seems short, but within the dimension of imagination, it is eternity. It is as if the invisible world only needs this firm breath of certainty to begin architecting what you have already assumed as real. What is maintained in the mind for long enough with sufficient intensity cannot be denied. The invisible begins to move, people are impelled, circumstances adjust, and what once seemed distant is now moving towards you. But realize, it is not an empty repetition, it is not a mechanical ritual. If your words do not carry feeling, if there is no silent conviction behind them, then it will all be nothing more than an echo. What moves the law are not syllables, but the fire of feeling. When you say in your imagination, "It is already done," your heart must burn with the feeling of possession. See yourself at the end of the journey as one who has already crossed the finish line. Do not expect anything, do not ask for anything, just recognize what already is. At that moment, your consciousness ceases to identify with lack and begins to inhabit the state of fullness. It is necessary to understand that the mantra does not act on its own. It is the tool that awakens in you the remembrance that there is no distance between what is desired and what already exists in the invisible. It puts you in tune with what is already ready to manifest. When you maintain this vision, you no longer bow to the world's appearances. You do not seek signs. You do not beg for proof. You know, and this knowing becomes law. The 39-second repetition is the seal, the decree, the invisible signature that guarantees the harvest. If you dare to apply this with sincerity, if you dare to stop looking outward and begin to sustain within yourself unwavering certainty, you will discover that there is no delay. The world responds quickly because there was never any distance. What you assume as true inwardly already exists, and it only waits for you to remain in it long enough for the form to reveal itself. The 39-second mantra is not a vague promise. It is the remembrance that power is in your hands and that a drop of sustained conviction is worth more than 1,000 days of doubt. Sustain it, and the impossible will cease to exist. Now that the mantra has been revealed, it is necessary to understand how to use it correctly, because many, in their eagerness to see results, rush and end up nullifying their own creation. When you sit in silence and declare within yourself, "It is already done, it is already accomplished, it is already mine," you are not asking a distant force to grant your wish, but establishing within your consciousness the law that will govern the events to come. There is a profound difference between the man who asks and the man who decrees. The one who asks places himself in the position of lack, reinforcing that he does not yet possess, and thereby prolongs the wait. The one who decrees assumes the end as a present reality, and his imagination becomes the fertile ground where new life sprouts. It is at this point that most stumble. They say the right words, but they continue to think like someone who has not yet received. Maintaining the mantra requires you to wear, even in silence, the identity of one who already possesses. If you desire health, you must feel it pulsating in every cell, as if it were impossible to doubt. If you seek prosperity, you must walk mentally as one who already enjoys abundance, breathing the lightness of one who no longer fears bills. It is this inner posture that gives power to the words. Without it, the practice is reduced to an empty ritual, and the external world does not move. During the 39 seconds, there is no room for questioning. You must not look at circumstances, debts, diagnoses, problems, or absences. All of this is an old reflection, a dead image of states you have sustained before. Now your attention focuses solely on what is already true in the invisible. Repeat the mantra as one who burns fire into iron, firm, unwavering, laden with feeling. By doing this, you are writing a new law in your own mind. The secret lies in naturalness. You must not force yourself to believe like one struggling against the tide, but simply allow yourself to rest in the desired state. As you repeat, "It is already done," let an inner smile emerge, like one who recognizes an inevitable victory. It is not effort, it is surrender. Surrender to the new state and allow it to become more real to you than any contrary appearance. This quiet confidence is what opens the floodgates for the invisible to manifest in concrete facts. Therefore, the first correct application of the mantra is this: to exchange the posture of supplication for the silent certainty of one who already possesses. The external world cannot resist this change because the external is merely a shadow, and the shadow always obeys the light. Maintain this truth during the 39 seconds, and you will realize that, instead of waiting for signs or proof, your own consciousness will become the living proof. And when that happens, external facts will have no choice but to obey the decree already etched within you. After understanding that the mantra is not supplication but a decree, the next step is to learn to hold it in silence after pronouncing it. This is where many fail. They sustain certainty for 39 seconds, but then immediately open the door to doubt and let everything drain away. Understand, the word decreed in imagination needs silence to germinate, just as a seed sown in the earth needs rest to sprout. If, after planting, you dig up the soil every day to check, you will never see fruit. So it is with the mantra. It demands that you remain silent in the face of appearances. When the 39 seconds are over, your only task is to trust. The mind will naturally try to ask, "Did it work?" or seek immediate signs. This impulse is disguised denial. It is like pulling up the plant's root before it grows. Discipline lies in refusing doubt without fighting against it. Simply remember, it is already done. Do not look for indications. Do not analyze whether the world has changed. Do not beg for answers. The external world has no autonomy. It is merely a reflection. The reflection cannot move until the inner image is firm. Inner silence is not emptiness but strength. It is the confidence of the king who has already decreed and does not need to repeat the order to his servants. The universe is your servant. A clear order, sustained without contradiction, is enough to move people, open doors, and create circumstances that once seemed impossible. But if you doubt, you confuse your servants, and they do not know whom to obey. Therefore, guard your words after the mantra. Avoid conversations that contradict your decree. Avoid venting that reinforces lack. If you cannot speak in accordance with what already is, remain silent. This silence is not passivity. It is the atmosphere that protects the seed from interference. When you become silent before the external world, you are proclaiming, even without words, that your faith needs no proof. It is the quiet confidence of one who knows he already possesses. This state is powerful because it makes you walk with a new posture, and this posture communicates more to the invisible than 1,000 prayers of despair. Remember, doubt is the only force capable of nullifying the decree. It is not enemies, it is not circumstances, it is not difficulties. Only your disbelief can close the door you have opened. Therefore, keep the mantra in the vault of silence. Say within yourself, "It is already done," and then walk as one who needs no justification nor explanation to anyone. The world will obey because it cannot resist one who maintains their faith in silence and firmness. Now it is necessary to understand the need for persistence. Some, when they apply the mantra, expect everything to resolve immediately. And if they see no signs in a few hours, they conclude that nothing happened. This error destroys the work. The law does not fail, but man is impatient. To persist does not mean to repeat with anxiety, but to sustain the decree with firmness until conviction becomes natural. It is like watering a plant daily. It is not about pulling it from the earth to see if it has grown, but about silently nurturing the certainty that, in due time, the harvest will come. The 39-second mantra is the initial spark, the moment you etch the command into the invisible. But if your mind is unstable, if it fluctuates between faith and doubt, you will need to repeat it more often, always with the same intensity. There is no problem in returning to it daily, provided that each repetition is made as if it were the last, with the full feeling that it is already accomplished. Do not count the days. Do not wait for the result with anxiety, because anxious expectation reveals incredulity. Just repeat and rest. Persistence transforms the assumed state into second nature. Initially, it may seem difficult to sustain conviction for 39 seconds because the mind wanders, gets distracted, questions. But the more you practice, the more natural this state becomes. There comes a point where it is no longer effort, it is breathing. You no longer need to struggle to believe. Certainty settles within you as something obvious, and at that moment, manifestation is inevitable. Do not deceive yourself by thinking you persist only when you see quick results. True persistence is when, even in the face of contrary circumstances, you continue to maintain, "It is already done." This inner posture is proof that your faith does not depend on external evidence. And precisely when the external seems to resist, that is when you must be even firmer, because this resistance is merely the old image trying to survive. Persist, and you will see that the old form will dissolve like mist before the sun. The law knows no impossible. Everything you maintain as an inner state will eventually find expression. Time does not matter, because in the invisible it is already accomplished. Persistence serves only for yourself, to strengthen your mind until there is no room for doubt. It is an exercise of discipline, of mastery over your attention. With each repetition, you educate your imagination to remain in the end, until there is no longer any effort in believing, because it has become your new identity. Therefore, persist with courage and tranquility. Repeat the mantra whenever you feel the need, not as one who implores, but as one who reinforces the remembrance of their already won victory. And when the state is so natural that you can no longer think as before, you will know that the harvest is at the gates. The world will not be able to resist, because the invisible has already decreed. After knowing the mantra, learning to decree instead of ask, holding silence after pronouncing it, and persisting until it becomes natural, one essential point remains: living in accordance with the assumed state. For it is of no use to plant the seed and then trample it with contrary actions. If you have declared in your imagination that you already possess, but act daily as one who still lacks, you destroy with your hands what you created with your mind. The law responds to inner coherence, and this coherence is also reflected in your conduct. When you finish your 39 seconds of decree, do not go back to walking like the beggar who implores. Walk as one who has already received. Allow your gestures, your speech, and even your posture to convey the silent certainty of one who lives in the desired end. If what you seek is health, do not drag yourself through the world as one bearing the burden of illness. Rise, breathe, and feel life already pulsating within you. If what you desire is prosperity, do not speak like one who fears lack. Do not complain. Do not repeat words of scarcity that the world so enjoys propagating. Speak as an owner, as an heir, as someone for whom abundance is natural. This change is not theater. It is inner confirmation. The world reacts to your vibration. People perceive, even without words, the energy of one who already sees themselves fulfilled. Situations begin to move not because you strive to manipulate, but because your inner posture attracts and commands. This is the power of living the assumed state. You no longer wait, you embody it. It is like putting on new clothes and, in wearing them, forgetting the old ones. You do not need to explain to anyone. Your very presence becomes a testament to the decree. But be aware, living the assumed state is not about flaunting or trying to prove anything to others. That would only reinforce that you still doubt. Living the state is something intimate, silent yet powerful. It is feeling that it already is, even when no one sees. It is acting as one who already has, even when the world insists on showing otherwise. This inner firmness makes the old reality bend, because it no longer finds support in you. Do not be deceived by circumstances. If, after decreeing, you still find signs of lack, ignore them. They are just old reflections, images that will lose strength as soon as you stop giving them attention. Continue living the new identity, and you will see that everything around you will be forced to align. The external has no will of its own, it merely reflects. Therefore, the final step is this: to embody the new state as if it were impossible to doubt. Allow your daily life, in every small gesture, to confirm the reality you have already decreed within yourself. When conduct and imagination unite, nothing can resist. The invisible will become visible because you not only spoke, but lived as one who already possesses. This is the final seal of the law, and in it, the impossible dissolves. Now you know. The 39-second mantra is not a trick to impress the curious mind, but a call to awaken the dormant creator within each one. By decreeing with conviction, by holding silence, by persisting, and by living the assumed state, you cease to be slaves of circumstances and reclaim the throne that has always belonged to you. External reality has no power whatsoever before one who firmly maintains an inner vision. Everything you see is merely a reflection. The mirror does not create, it merely returns. And if the reflection does not please you, it is not the mirror that needs to change, but the image you project. Enough with begging for signs, enough with waiting for chance to favor you. You are not here to implore, but to command. The law is simple. What you assume as true within yourselves will sooner or later be revealed outside. There are no exceptions, no failures, no escape. The world obeys, because the world is nothing more than the projection of your own sustained imagination. Therefore, from today, assume the posture of masters. When you perform the mantra, do so with the authority of one who knows they already possess. Hold silence even in the face of doubt. Persist until conviction becomes natural, and, above all, live as one who already is. Do not ask, decree. Do not wait, assume. Do not seek proof, be the proof. And if you do this, you will see that in 24 hours, in a few days, or in whatever time is necessary, reality will have no choice but to bend, because all is already done, all is already given, and all you need is to remember your inheritance, conscious creators, heirs of a power that the world has forgotten, but which within you has never ceased to exist. The impossible does not exist for one who knows who they are.
Listen closely, because the secret is not in chasing what you desire, but in becoming the magnetic field where everything naturally comes to you. The common person lives like a hunter. They wake up every day with their eyes fixed on what is missing, run like one chasing prey they never catch, and end the day exhausted, believing that perhaps tomorrow luck will smile upon them. They don't realize that the more they reach for it, the more the object seems to slip away. It's like a child trying to grasp their own shadow. The more they lunge at it, the further away it appears. The law of life, however, requires no running or pursuit. It is simple, silent, and infallible. What you claim as your own comes to you effortlessly, just as a flower doesn't need to move to offer its perfume. The wind takes it. A star doesn't seek out those who might gaze upon it, but shines unmoving, and its light travels through the universe until it is seen. So too must you understand, it is not your striving that brings things, but your state of being that attracts them. When you pursue love, you declare loneliness. When you pursue money, you declare lack. When you pursue health, you declare illness. And the world, a faithful mirror, only confirms that declaration. But when you rest in the consciousness of already possessing, even if the outer world hasn't yet adjusted, life bows before you and begins to conspire on your behalf. The right person crosses your path effortlessly. Opportunity appears where you least expect it. The body responds like a garden that blossoms in spring. The secret is not in the chase, but in inner repose. The hunter looks outward and gets lost in the distance. The creator turns inward and discovers there is no distance to travel, because everything already exists in the invisible, waiting only to be accepted. Just as a magnet doesn't need to chase metal, but only to remain in its magnetic nature, so too do you not need to chase love, health, or wealth. You only need to embrace the corresponding state, and then the world will come to you without resistance. The first step is to embrace the end before the beginning. This is the key that most ignore because they are conditioned to always think in terms of effort and time. The common person looks at their desire as if looking at a distant land. One day I will get there, but every one day is merely a disguised form of postponement. The secret is not to wait for something to happen, but to recall it as if it has already happened. Imagination is the bridge that connects the invisible to the visible, and only those who dare to cross it discover that the end is already present. When someone desires love, for example, they usually expect external signs. A message that arrives, a chance meeting, a reciprocal glance. But this waiting reveals a lack, and a lack attracts more emptiness. What you must do is close your eyes and feel as if you had already lived the final scene. The intimacy of a conversation, the peace of being next to someone who loves you, the warmth of a hand intertwined with yours. Don't project it as a future dream, but recall it as a memory. The mind doesn't distinguish between what it has experienced and what it intensely imagines. And therefore, when you live the final scene within you, you give your subconscious the command to rewrite your outer world. The same applies to wealth. Many pursue opportunities, jobs, clients, and businesses, like someone hunting for coins on the floor. But every hunter reveals a state of poverty and therefore continues to find only signs of scarcity. The person who embraces the end before the beginning, however, doesn't ask, "When will I have money?" but rests in the feeling of already possessing it. They open an invoice, and instead of fear, imagine the joy of seeing it paid. They hold an empty wallet, and instead of lamenting, smile as if they feel it full. They walk through the streets as one who already possesses, and their attitude is that of a king, not a beggar. Thus, the world, obedient to the embraced state, begins to bring them people, ideas, and doors that open naturally. As for health, most focus on the pain, the symptom, the diagnosis. They live as sentinels of sickness, thus reinforcing it day after day. But the one who embraces the end closes their eyes and recalls the free body, the light breath, the vibrant energy they once experienced. They revive that memory until it becomes more real than the current discomfort. And little by little, the body, obedient to the inner command, adjusts to the new state, because the body is nothing more than the shadow of the consciousness that sustains it. Embracing the end is not pretending, it is not self-deception, it is not turning a blind eye to reality. It is understanding that the only true reality is born from within. What the senses show today is merely a reflection of old states you unconsciously chose. But you are given the power to choose a new state now and inhabit it, even if nothing out there seems to change. The external world will eventually yield because it is not the cause, it is the consequence. Therefore, when you desire something, don't ask, "When will it come?" That question is a declaration of distance. Instead, say in silence, "It has already happened," and rest in that feeling, as one who recalls a journey already taken, a victory already won, a blessing already received. This is the first, most fundamental step to clothe yourself in the end before the beginning, and thus transform the quest into possession, waiting into memory, and hope into certainty. The second step is to feel until it becomes natural. Many have heard that imagination creates, but they remain solely at the level of mental visualization, like someone watching a movie without ever stepping into it. The scene they create is clear, but it lacks the breath of life. And what gives life to the image is not the clarity of details, but the intensity of the feeling. Without feeling, the vision remains dead, like a body without a soul. The heart is the true altar where desires are made sacred, When the mind draws an image but the heart doesn't warm to it, that image dissolves into emptiness. But when feeling unites with vision, the invisible becomes corporeal and the universe responds like a true echo. It is feeling that seals creation. Suppose you desire love. It's not enough to imagine a smiling face or a romantic scene. You must feel the warmth, the tenderness, the tranquility that accompanies that state. Ask yourselves, how would I feel if this were already a realized fact? And then immerse yourselves in that feeling until it replaces the lack. When the heart rests in the certainty of already being loved, even without external signs, you begin to radiate magnetism. Your attitudes change, your voice carries a different tone, your gaze reflects confidence, and this inner transformation inevitably calls forth its equivalent in the outer world. The same applies to prosperity. Imagining banknotes, figures, contracts, or opportunities is an empty exercise if your heart still beats with fear and scarcity. But when you let the feeling of abundance penetrate your innermost being, the body relaxes, breathing deepens, and a peace envelops you as if nothing were lacking. In that vibration, the mind opens to creative solutions. People start to see you differently, and unexpected situations arise as a response. Not because you are pursuing them, but because your feeling has already decreed to the universe that you are prosperous. As for health, it's not enough to imagine a strong body. You must feel vitality circulating, as if every cell has already obeyed your command. Feel the relief, as if the pain has vanished. Feel the energy, as if vigor has already returned. Accustom the body to this new sensation, even if only for moments, until it becomes more real than any diagnosis. The body will always follow the strongest state you cultivate in your heart. To feel until it becomes natural means to live the memory of the future with such constancy that it replaces present reality. In the beginning, it may seem like effort, but little by little the new state becomes familiar, like well-worn clothes. And it is at that moment that the miracle occurs, when it no longer seems distant but natural. The outer world simply adjusts to your inner self. Therefore, do not merely be content with seeing. Enter the scene and live it with your heart. The habit of feeling, repeated day after day, is the mortar that sustains the invisible work until it manifests. Because it is not isolated vision that creates, but vision felt as real. This is the seal that transforms thought into fact, desire into possession, the unseen into the tangible. The third step is to act in congruence with the state you have chosen. Here many become confused, because they believe that action is synonymous with effort and struggle, when in reality it is merely the natural reflection of what you have already embraced within yourselves. It's not about running after things, but about moving as one who already is. Your behavior should be the outward expression of your inner state, not an anxious attempt to create that state through forced actions. Observe the person who feels prosperous. They doesn't need to flaunt or spend to prove anything, nor do they hide like a shamed beggar. Their dignity is expressed in their posture, tone of voice, and the way they look at the world. They may not yet possess large sums of money, but they no longer identify with scarcity. And because they act as though they already have, they begin to open doors that were previously invisible. People trust them, opportunities recognize them, and life returns to them the reflection of their new identity. Similarly, the woman who feels loved doesn't beg, doesn't submit to humiliations, doesn't live on remnants. Her serenity reveals that love already dwells within her, even before any external manifestation. When walking, speaking, or simply remaining silent, she transmits a magnetism that naturally attracts what reflects her state. She doesn't need to chase anyone. It is her own vibration that summons love. As for health, the body follows the inner pattern. Whoever constantly sees themselves as ill, even if they speak of healing, acts according to the identity of the illness. They refuse to move. They eat as though they have already given up. They speak as if merely confirming symptoms. But the one who embraces the state of health begins to move within their capabilities, even if small, as one already undergoing restoration. They smile as one who has already won, speak as one who already possesses vitality. And little by little, the body follows the congruence of the spirit. Acting in congruence is not pretending, it is not theater, it is not illusion. To pretend is to try to convince others. To act in congruence is to allow your inner state to convince the world. These are simple gestures, but imbued with silent conviction. It is answering a call with confidence, even before the contract is signed. It's looking at your own life as one who knows they are on the right path. It is walking with your head held high, not to impress, but because you have already chosen a state that is yours. Remember, external actions are like an echo. The true sound originates from within. If you want to change your attitudes, first change your state. Once the identity is embraced, action follows effortlessly. You won't be trying to imitate something you are not. You will merely be living the natural consequence of having already decided internally. This step frees you from anxiety because it shows you that there's no need to rush or exert pressure. Just live according to what you have already embraced. The world perceives, responds, and adjusts, for it recognizes the authority of one who is congruent. That is how things begin to rush to you, not because you pursue them, but because you already are, and all that you are must be reflected. The fourth step is to rest in confidence. Here is the point where many fail, because after imagining, after feeling, and even acting in congruence, they rise and return to the old stance of pursuit. It's as if they planted a seed and out of impatience dug up the earth daily to check if it had sprouted. This habit interrupts the natural process and weakens the harvest. Resting is not inactivity, but absolute confidence that life is already working in your favor. Confidence is the invisible proof that you have received. When a person receives a key to a new house, they don't doubt whether the door will open. They turn it with the certainty of one who already knows they are the owner. So too must you live. Your key is the inner state you have embraced. If you have already internally accepted the end as realized, then there is no longer a need to chase after signs. They will come by themselves, as fruits naturally fall when ripe. Many abandon their desires because they confuse waiting with anxiety. Waiting anxiously is watching the clock, looking at the calendar, questioning, when will it come? Why hasn't it arrived yet? This constant vigilance is proof of disbelief, but waiting confidently is living as one who has already received, even before seeing. It is smiling as one who is already at peace. It is giving thanks as one who already holds it in their hands. It is walking as one who has already achieved. Rest is also the seal of faith. It's not about giving up what you desire, but about releasing the burden of needing to conquer. Life doesn't need your strength to fulfill what you already accept as real. Just as the farmer doesn't blow on seeds to make them grow faster, you also don't need to push life. Simply cultivate the embraced state and rest in it. The unseen takes care of opening paths, moving people, aligning circumstances. Think of the current of a river. The anxious person struggles against it, tries to swim faster, exhausts themselves, and often doesn't even get anywhere. But the person who trusts simply surrenders to the flow, knowing that the river will carry them to their destination. Such is life. It doesn't demand desperate effort, only conscious surrender. To rest is to surrender the how and the when to the very law of sustained imagination. When you rest, the mind quiets, and in that silence, passages open that anxiety would never permit you to see. New ideas emerge, unexpected encounters happen, simple solutions appear before your eyes. Rest is not absence of movement, but space for the movement of life to reveal itself. Therefore, rest Once the state is embraced, possession felt, congruence acted upon, now is not the time to run, but to trust. Live each day as one who already possesses. Do not question the future. Do not demand from the present. Simply rest in the certainty that what you embrace within is already making its way to you. This rest is the greatest testimony of faith, and it is also the fertile ground where manifestation flourishes. And now we arrive at the concluding point of this journey, the conclusion that weaves all threads into a single fabric. Observe carefully. It is not by chasing that a person conquers, but by embracing, feeling, acting in congruence, and resting in confidence. All that you call love, health, and wealth already exists within you as ready states, waiting only to be chosen. Life is not a race in search of something distant. It is a mirror that returns to you exactly what you assume to be true about yourselves. How many times have you exhausted yourselves in the quest? How many times have you believed that happiness was always behind the next door, in the next person, in the next event? The world teaches that you must run, fight, compete, accumulate, and many spend their entire lives as runners on a track that never ends. But the truth is simple. The key is not outside, it is within. Your inner self is the cause. The outer is merely the reflection. Whoever discovers this stops running and starts choosing. Notice the difference. The one who pursues confesses they do not have, and what does not have can only attract more absence. But the one who assumes they already possess attracts the inevitable confirmation of their choice. The person who rests in the state of being loved no longer begs, no longer worries, no longer observes external signs with anxiety. They simply are, and because they are, everything around them adjusts. The person who rests in the state of abundance doesn't run after opportunities like a beggar. They move with dignity, make decisions with clarity, and transmit the certainty of one who is already provided for. The body that rests in the state of health doesn't bear the identity of sickness. It already identifies with vitality and little by little matter obeys the order of the spirit. The secret has always been to embrace the end before the beginning, to feel until it becomes natural, to act as a reflection of that state, and finally, to rest in confidence. It is an inner ladder that leads you to a new level of existence. But this ladder is not made of external effort. Each step is an inner act of consciousness. Whoever learns to ascend within sees life align outwardly. Remember, the universe does not resist a person who knows who they are. Life can deny to the one who begs, can postpone to the one who doubts, can hide from the one who chases. But it cannot resist the one who embraces and remains. The law is immutable. The world reflects you. There are no exceptions. Therefore, cast off today the figure of the hunter who chases what they desire and don the identity of the creator you already are. Close your eyes and embrace the end. Feel it until it becomes your natural air. Move according to this new identity and rest. Rest is the proof of your confidence, and confidence is the seal of creation. And when you do this, something extraordinary will happen. It will no longer be you pursuing things, but things that will rush to you. Love will appear on your path, health will flourish in your body, prosperity will open before you, not as a result of rushing or struggle, but as an inevitable consequence of one who has learned to inhabit the desired state. This is the invitation I leave you. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not be content with hearing these words as beautiful ideas. Apply them now. Even at this instant, close your eyes, choose your state, and rest in it. The world will take care of the rest, for the reflection cannot fail to follow the image. You are creators, and creation begins within. Choose to be today, and you will see the universe bow before your decision.